Welcome to the B2B Growth Blueprint Podcast, where we talk with entrepreneurs, founders, and leaders at B2B services, tech, and SaaS companies to learn the systems and processes they've used to create success for their business. We'll also learn from marketing and sales experts to provide insights to help you grow your business. I'm your host, Mark Osborne, and the podcast is brought to you by Modern Revenue Strategies and their 10x ROI B2B growth guarantee. Schedule a free diagnostic call to learn the fastest path to double your B2B revenues in just 90 days. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the B2B Growth Blueprint Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Osborne, and today I'm very excited to welcome my guest, Kris Rudeegraap. Now, Kris is the co-founder and CEO of Sendoso, which is the leading sending platform that helps B2B companies break through the digital noise and create more human, memorable buying experiences. Kris started his career in sales, where he saw firsthand how hard it was to stand out once inboxes became crowded and buyers became harder to reach. And that insight led him to co-found Sendoso, which pioneered programmatic sending and physical touchpoints as a core part of the modern go-to-market strategy. Under his leadership, Sendoso scaled from an early-stage startup to a category-defining platform used by hundreds of leading B2B companies, raising significant venture capital along the way, including a major investment during the peak of the growth at all costs era. More importantly, Kris also led the company through the less talked about part of the journey, pivoting from hypergrowth to profitability as market conditions changed. Kris today is recognized as a thought leader in go-to-market strategy, pipeline creation, and the intersection of technology, data, and human connection. He speaks frequently about founder evolution, sustainable growth, and how AI is reshaping marketing and sales teams without replacing the fundamentals that actually drive revenue. Kris, to the show.
Wow, thank you, Mark. That introduction is the best one I've ever had. I
Oh,
appreciate that. That was really, really well written.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited for this conversation and been looking forward to it. But before we jump in on some of the
Yep.
topics that we've been chatting about, why don't you give our audience a little bit of sort of your personal story? Like, what did what I just read really look like in practice? Tell us the twists and turns of your career that brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, of course. So, went to college for marketing, but immediately out of college, realized that sales was more my calling than marketing. I
Okay.
saw myself enabling the sales team and then the sales reps taking home the huge paychecks. So I said, hey, let
Uh-huh.
me switch over from marketing to sales. That was early in my career, and I really loved sales. I really loved building relationships with people. And I did sales for about a decade. And then in about 2015, 2016 time, I was at a SaaS software company, and I saw myself wanting to get more creative. I think my marketing background kind of pulled me in to say, hey, how else can I engage with prospects and build that rapport? And so I started manually like writing handwritten notes after calls and sending thank yous, or I'd hear a dog bark on a call and send over, a dog toy from Amazon, or I'd
Uh-huh.
go grab swag from our marketing closet and pack it up and send it out to a prospect that was ghosting me. And all those things worked really, really well. It was just like running a mini mailroom. It was a nightmare operationally in the office, packing boxes. My wife's like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I'm at the FedEx. I'll be home soon for dinner. Sorry." And it became almost like a bit of a nuance to where I was like, it worked, but it was just so hard to click tracking links, expense
Yeah.
report, pack boxes. And I just dreamed of a better solution. And ironically, at the time, I thought email was nearing, its too spammy age, which was a decade ago.
Yeah, I was gonna
And I
say
think
it's
all the
only gotten
listeners
worse.
can attest to it got way worse. But direct mail response rates are quite high. We've even seen some stats where it's anywhere from 5 to 9 times higher than email. And so it works so well. And so that's where I dreamed up of Sendoso and said, hey, why isn't there a platform that's as easy to send an email as it is to send a mailer out, whether it's a bottle of wine, whether it's custom branded swag, whether it's thousands of postcards, or whether it's a super unique personalized item to the individual. And doing so, tracking it through CRM systems, all the expense reporting and finance all on the back end. And that dream became a reality. And I quit my job as a sales rep, and the next day was the CEO and co-founder of Sendoso, and kind of the rest was history. I think I solve the problem that I deeply, deeply understood and deeply wanted solved for myself. Obviously, lots of learning along the way from scaling to hundreds of millions and spend on our platform. But the initial thesis that, direct mail and gifting is going to drive better relationships and better rapport and ultimately grab someone's attention, which I think in today's world, that's what marketers and sales reps are hoping for is how do I grab someone else's attention and tell the story on how your product or service can solve their pain?
Yeah. So such an interesting story there. And it's not often that the chance to chat with folks that have sort of been through that evolution of, having an initial role and then, having this market insight that then sort of leads them to create a category that they can be king of. I'm curious if you can share a little bit of, what's it like as a company grows, so quickly because you really found this opportunity in the
Mhm.
marketplace to shift from being the founder that's got the ideas and that's running everything,
Yeah.
and is really just sort of trying to create scale around something that you were doing that you knew would work, to being a CEO who's instead sort of leading teams and guiding people on, corporate initiatives and things like that. Talk to us a little bit about that, both sort of personal as well as kind of operational shift
Yeah.
that you've gone through there.
Yeah, so I think in the early years, the first kind of year or two, my sales background and sales acumen really helped with more than just sales. I think obviously getting our first customers was really easy and low-hanging fruit to me. But when it came to pitching and selling investors on raising money and the, 150 million plus we've raised over the last decade, that really boded well to my sales background and willing to go pitch, 30 investors and get 29 no's until you get the first one. So I think my sales background there helped with fundraising. And then my sales background really helped with recruiting. And I think in the early years, recruiting is really challenging. You're saying, hey, quit your good job that is at a reputable company and go join us for who knows what is going to happen next. And you really have to sell the vision, the dream, the energy, the optimism. And so, again, I think my early sales background there really helped in that. And I think those gave me some early, tailwinds and momentum to say, okay, I'm a founder, but now I'm recruiting and leading a team. I'm building a finance organization. I'm, raising funds. I'm managing a lot more than just sales. And then that kind of snowballed me into becoming more of a focus on delegation, and I think as a founder, you tend to try to solve problems yourself. As a CEO, you've got to delegate, you've got to trust in your employees and team. And I think being a really good delegator has led me to really let go of the areas that I didn't need to own anymore and help me focus on really other areas that the business needed me for. Um, the other area that I think really good CEOs tend to do well at is storytelling and thought leadership. And
Hmm.
I think in the early years that is, translates well into early customers. But then how do you really continue to shape the narrative? Because the story day one, month one, year one needs to evolve. And how do you continue to tell interesting stories to the market as the market evolved? For us, that was interesting moments as it related to when COVID hit and how does that storytelling change because we were delivering mailers and gifts to people's offices and now everyone worked from home, or how has the story changed in recent years where AI has accelerated the spamification of inboxes and how does ad prices going up and these other channels becoming saturated and how does our story come back and tell a way that then uh, really makes the market continue to want to demand our product and services.
Yeah. So you hit on something in there that I think is worth kind of tapping into, which is you talked about being a good delegator.
Hmm.
And I know that's something that, oftentimes CEOs, especially as they're early stage and founding, really struggle with
Hmm.
because they feel like, well, no one can do it as well as me.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's true. Oftentimes it's not. It's just a perception. But talk to us a little bit about how you built that muscle. How did you
Yeah.
become a good delegator? How did you, learn to not only delegate, but then, enable other folks to elevate, what was happening with a particular function within the company?
Yeah. So tactically, there's a few things early on. I mean, one of the very, very early on things was I was obsessed with Upwork, and still am to this
Oh,
day. And I think that's like low-hanging delegation where you're like, you have a specific task that you want to delegate to someone else to do, whether it's a project, whether it's, it could be a myriad of things. But it's a great way to say, hey, there's things I need to do that I can't have time to do. So who else can do them? And in the very early years, then it became, well, I have so many of these marketing related tasks, I need to hire a marketer to do these things. So
Right.
I really got good at delegating from like a per task basis to then
Interesting.
figuring out, okay, I need to hire someone to own these tasks, then to go above and beyond. So I think that tactically was an early delegation skill set I learned. The other thing that I did in terms of my management abilities is really set the stage when I hired people to say, I work for you. And I'm going to be an idea guy. I think a lot of founders are, have really good ideas. And
Yeah.
so my theory was always, hey, here's some cool ideas that could help in marketing and product and finance. You take these ideas, you tell me if you're gonna do them, you tell me if they suck, but you're the end decision maker on your own domain. And I think that broke the barrier down from being either one, feeling like I was a micromanagement type of leader, to being I was a collaborator and someone that wanted to win together. And that philosophy has really helped me in the years and years to come as we've grown and gotten bigger and bigger. I will say though that I know it was probably 3 or 4 years ago. I did have some whiplash from
Okay.
me being too in the weeds at times. And I think as a
Uh-huh.
CEO, you need to know when new employees come in at certain stages, like when we are Series C, that they're not used to maybe a CEO getting in the weeds saying, "Hey, let me help you with this deal," or "Hey, I have this product feature. Here's a screenshot. Let me fix that." And so oftentimes I needed to set the stage with new employees. And one of the things I did was hosted this weekly new hire from the founder kind of one-on-one and or group session, kind of sharing my way of leadership and share and trying to break the barriers down to saying, hey, I'm not some scary CEO in a tower in a corner office. I'm just like you. I want to help. Let's win together. And that really helped too by making people feel comfortable kind of talking with the CEO when at certain stages of the companies that can be a little bit scary.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And you didn't name it this, but it's this concept of sort of servant leadership of like
Yeah.
you serve the audience. And I've heard it said before, and I've always seen this to be true, is someone asked one time, like, how do you motivate people? And the answer is, well, you hire motivated people and then you clear the path for them.
Yeah.
And many people are motivated, but they get demotivated by the work environment that they're in because
Hmm.
someone's leaning over top of them, trying to micromanage
Precisely.
or not empowering them to own their domain, as you said. And so I love that sort of setup, and it's no surprise that that's been successful for you. To pivot a little bit, I want to dig in on the specific problem Sendoso solves because I
Hmm.
think it's really valuable. You know, we spend a lot of time, on this show and the work that I do with clients talking about, how do you break through in a, sort of go-to-market strategy in motion. And the idea of, sending lumpy mailers or sending
Hmm.
customized things is something that really has gained a lot of traction. And as you say, especially as the digital world has become noisier, it's become even more valuable. But not everyone can kind of immediately envision, well, how would this fit into my business?
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about how Sendoso really enables that, and maybe some of the kind of unique plays that maybe it's worked for, sort of boring businesses that don't think like, oh, I'm the type of person that sends out bottles of wine or, things like that. I'm sure there's some creative ways that people have used the platform to do things that really, go beyond what's expected, but then help them break through with, those, decision makers that could really 10x their business and things like that.
100%. Yeah, so I can take this in a couple different directions, but I think the first thing to note is that like why isn't everyone doing it? And I think it comes
Mhm.
down to doing direct mail, lumpy mail, physical gifts, etc. Tends to seem hard, and it is generally hard if you're not using like a platform to automate a lot of the heavy lifting. Because, as you alluded to there, and I alluded to earlier on when I started the business. I was, manually going out and sourcing and buying things and then packing
Right.
boxes and then writing notes and then trying to log things in CRM and track expense reporting. And so all those things are like, I don't have enough time in my day. I'm just gonna like send another email because that's easy and
Right.
it's a click of a button. And so the benefit though of that is that not everyone is doing direct mail, so you still have this ability to stand out. You still have, and because of that, there's a cost component of doing direct mail and gifting in that people can't do unlimited clicking of emails or running insane numbers of ads everywhere because of just the ability to do so. And so it creates this like saturation prevention mechanism, which is why it delivers such higher returns than other channels. Um, but once you get turned on and know that there's like a Sendoso that exists, the world kind of changes for you. And you can now say, okay, well, now I could use creativity to break through the noise and I can come up with different campaigns, whether it's a bottle of wine or whether it's, could be, a cool postcard campaign. It could be something clever as, the world's your oyster, and marketers are like the most creative type that can come up with these campaigns. We also offer some really interesting campaign studio that will come up with ideas for you, or we have an AI product called Smart Send that will say, hey Kris, we know Kris likes golf, we know Kris lives in San Francisco, we know Kris has a kid, here's some things Kris could like, and we have this like
Uh-huh.
interest graph and we'll suggest the right thing to send. Additionally, you might be like, hey, I don't want to do direct mail because I don't have people's mailing addresses. Well, we've solved that too by saying, hey, we've got a database and a smart delivery feature that will help you suggest to saying, hey, Kris works from the office and here's the office address. Or, hey, Kris actually prefers to confirm his address and he'll confirm his address for you and then you can mail it there. So we figured out what are all the pain points and solved for it. Making direct mail and lumpy mail gifting as easy as sending an email. The other
Wow.
the other misconception I hear too, which is listeners are like, I don't have money to send a bottle of wine. Well, the way that I look at it, in the way that our most savvy customers look at it, is what's dollar in, dollar out kind of math. If $1 in, on an ad generates $2 in pipeline, but $1 in direct mail generates $12, well, like where should you put more of your money?
Yeah.
And email is one where it's like if $1 in generates like a dollar 10 cents, and this is like the true all-in cost of like the human labor involved in it too. So doing some of that math makes you quickly realize that this is a very high performing channel. The other way I look at it too is grabbing attention is hard, as you alluded to. And if you could spend $50 on a mailer today that grabbed your prospect's attention and you booked a meeting, 2 months sooner than just like a 2 month email only campaign, well, what's 2 months in revenue worth to you? And so
Yeah.
there's this like opportunity cost of not getting revenue sooner. And again, I'm not an anti-email person. I still love email, but I'm a multi-channel, multi-strategy to grab people's attention. It might be an email, it might be a phone call, it might be a direct mailer, it might be a social post. All those different things can then lead to somebody willing to listen to your pitch.
So you hit on so many things that are important there. And one of them is that, you know, a lot of the reason why, the reason why everyone doesn't do it is they sort of fail to take the time to
Hmm.
strategically think through who are the 10 clients that
Yeah.
if we got would really change the landscape for us. Instead, they treat everyone, we
Yep.
just need more volume. They
So true.
just send out to 1,000 that,
Yep.
and who knows the difference between them. And we're not going to take the time to figure it out. And so we're just to everyone. Whereas if they strategically thought through their approach to the marketplace, those 10, they could afford to do something different with and they could really understand the value that it has. And then also the strategic storytelling,
Hmm.
as you mentioned before, of what's the thing that I could send them that would
Hmm.
resonate with them, but also be relevant to me. And again, it comes back to they just don't have the strategy that underpins it, which is why so much marketing, kind of falls flat.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I find is, although it is more expensive than sending, clicking yes on send another email, I find that, creativity comes from those constraints.
Yeah.
It comes from saying, well, I can only afford to do this much in a direct mail. So now I got to be strategic about who I send it to, and then creative about what I send and how I send it in such a way that that's what really allows things to break through.
And you hit on a great point too, where even if you are selling a solution to SMBs where you don't have the ability to even spend $50, we've seen some super creative like sub $10 mailers where it's like someone sent some prop money that was burned. So it looked like burned money in an envelope and says like, is your current solution burning money? Check out XYZ.
Yeah.
Somebody sent some fake aspirin pills in a little like RX jar saying like, is your current solution giving you a headache? Talk about XYZ. There was even one that was pretty creative. It was like a fake milk box that said like, reward if found, looking for solution X. And so those things are like, low cost, not expensive, but the creativity is then going to grab that prospect's attention and being like, wow, I actually am going to spend, 5 minutes reading this. And now I have this top of mind versus, the alternative. So,
Well, and not only that, but what I see with when we do campaigns like this is that that little bottle of aspirin doesn't immediately get tossed. Your
exactly. Yeah.
the email that you sent immediately gets deleted. Even the
Yeah.
ad that you serve immediately gets scrolled past.
Yeah.
But the little bottle of aspirin sits, and
Yeah.
there's the old adage in B2B that 95, maybe it's even 97% of your market is not in market at any given time.
Exactly.
And so you want to be top of mind when they are in market. Well, if your little bottle of aspirin or whatever your sort of memorable mailer is still sitting on their desk, the day that they start thinking, I'm going to prioritize solving this particular problem,
Hmm.
and I know those guys do that, you're going to be one of the calls that they make. Whereas instead, you would be just sort of at the mercy of would they find you through other sources? Would be one of the people they would even consider.
Yeah, I was having a fun conversation with a customer recently, and they were talking about top of mind time. And it was
Okay.
just they had this kind of mindset where it's like, for an email, you might have, less than a second of top of mind time. Even if you read it, you still might read a quick email, scan it, and it's, a couple seconds. But the top of mind time for opening up a box and a gift is like that could be 6 minutes of opening it up, looking at it,
Yeah.
reading the card, seeing what the gift is, unboxing that even further. And then if you take into account if that sits on your desk or sits in your cabinet or in your on your shelf behind you, now you have like hours or weeks or months of top of mind time compared to like the seconds that you could have had before. So I think it's an interesting mindset to think about, how much top of mind time do you have with your prospects or customers?
Well, and then even if they don't keep it on their desk, even if
Yeah.
they just spend that time opening it and looking at it and thinking about it, all of that additional top of mind time means that 3 months down the road, when they
Hmm.
become in market for you, are they more likely to remember the person that sent them that or the email that maybe they even read and thought about that email and said, one day I might, you know, find a solution like this. I want to
Yeah.
remember these guys. Now delete the email versus spending the time thinking about that sort of physical product.
Exactly. I've even heard a story from a recent customer that just said they got something from us months and months ago, then went on ChatGPT to say, what's the best gifting providers? We came up number one, and they remembered that we sent them a gift. So it was like, again, that like, you got to be top of mind, but you also could be many months ago that you did something that then connects the dots, being like, okay, wow, I remember that from many months ago, and I see them here again. I got to pick them.
Yeah. So you touched on something earlier that I thought was really interesting. I'm just curious to learn more about, which is you've built sort of an AI tool that sort of helps come up with creative ideas for what to send folks, and
Yeah.
the usage of AI within marketing and within business writ large is obviously a big topic today. How Talk to us a little bit about how you came up with that as an application of AI, and maybe what are some other places that you're seeing either clients that you're working with that you're hearing about how they're using AI in marketing in unique ways, or other sort of interesting and relevant use cases.
Yeah. So our AI strategy really evolved from a lot of time talking to our customers on where they had bottlenecks in their gifting and direct mail strategies, or where technology could drive more outcome for them. And so what we kind of narrowed in on a few areas. One was, okay, uh, what should I send to somebody? And that can be solved by either somebody spending 15 minutes looking through, social media posts and this and that, or it can be solved by AI. And we launched a smart send feature that really figured out based on huge data sets, what should I send to Mark? We then said, hey, what's the message that we should send along to Mark? And that could be a 5-minute type up by a marketer or a sales rep, or AI can come up and draft V1 based on the problem solution, based on maybe a pun from the mailer or gift you're sending, based on the recipient and what we know about them. And so we launched Smart Message that then made writing the note associated with the mailer easier. We then said, hey, well, now you got to figure out where to send to. You either have to have your data in your CRM, that could be messy. You could go
Yeah.
and spend minutes like finding that address data elsewhere. Or you could come to us and use our smart delivery feature, and we're going to help triangulate saying, is this person in the office? Are they at home? What's address are they at? And then have a fallback to ask for their address if we're not 100% confident. And so that became really a popular AI feature. Again, big data and decision engines there. We're also rolling out some new features around Smart Signal to say when to send to somebody, pulling in on first party data in your CRM. Like maybe you're working a specific account, you've engaged with one of the contacts in the buying committee, but two others haven't. Maybe, and we can suggest, hey, Smart Signal, send this person something, or a third party signal like a job change alert, a promotion, funding news, or other things that are available through third party data sets that we can say when to send. And this allows for hyper personalization of like the right person, the right gift, the right message, the right delivery channel, the right time, ultimately leading to more scalable campaigns and mailers, and then ultimately better outcomes and results for our customers. And so we think the end goal is kind of this always on, gifting agents and mailer agents, similar to how you run ads, where it's like you kind of set up the parameters and it runs, removing all of the bottlenecks. It would be a nightmare if you thought about, hey, I want to run ads on, New York Times, but every day I'm going to go there and I'm going to pick the ad, and every day I'm going to wait for the audience and I'm going to tell them that, it'd be it's all kind of automated for you. And so we see a really cool AI future of, mailers that are working while, you're sleeping.
Yeah, that's interesting. So we've done some things like with Clay,
Yeah,
where when, someone changes jobs, so you've identified this person is an important person for you, and they just got a promotion, so they're now likely to, be in market for
exactly.
the thing that you sell. You can create all these automations that flow from this external signal that comes in and feeds an engine like that. So it sounds like you're setting up similar things, but with, actually the physical products going out.
Correct. Yeah. And we strongly believe in like an integrated ecosystem. So
Mhm.
integrations into Clay, integrations into your CRM, your marketing automation platforms, your sales sequencing engagement tools, all of those, so that whether you want to trigger an automation through your existing systems, that is, the best case scenario. We still allow you to send in, bulk or through triggers through our own system. But like in the Clay example, or sending through HubSpot or through another tool, it always makes it easier if it's a part of your workflow, and we just sit in those workflows, especially as these systems have more AI enabled automations. We want to just be another way to help you engage with prospects and cut through the noise.
So interesting. So, Kris, you're obviously an expert in a lot of really interesting topics, and we could talk all day, but I've got to be mindful of your time. But
Yeah.
before I let you go, like, kind of give us the pitch. Pitch us, Sendoso. Like, what types of companies you work with? How do you help them? And sort of give us that call to action. What's the best way to get engaged?
Yeah, I mean, really, we work with the myriad of companies across industries like B2B technology, financial services, professional services, even into sports and gaming, into hospitality. The end goal, it's, are you a sales marketing or CX professional that wants to build better relationships with prospects and customers or partners? It's almost everybody, which is the benefit of how our platform works. And ultimately, we want to help you scale that out so that you can be the hero and build that relationship that then converts in the revenue. And my theory is that people buy from people, and relationships drive revenue. And so if we can help you build those relationships, that's what we're here for. And always happy to help either directly by, looking at a demo of Sendoso on our website, sendoso.com, connecting with me on LinkedIn. I even love having one-on-one conversations with people that just want to talk shop about, AI, marketing, tech, whatever it may be. So maybe you could drop in my LinkedIn into the show notes, and happy to connect one-on-one with listeners too.
Absolutely. Well, that's a very generous offer from you, Kris, because you bring a lot of expertise that people, I'm sure our audience has benefited from today, and I always enjoy. So, Kris, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Mark. Great conversation.
All right. Talk to you soon.
See ya.
Thank you for joining this episode of the B2B Growth Blueprint Podcast. We hope you've gained insights to grow your business. If you enjoyed this discussion, please rate, comment, like on your favorite platform, and share to others who will find it useful. Do you know a CEO, founder, or leader at an early stage B2B services, tech, or SaaS company who would like to be a guest and share their story? Send us a note. Let's schedule a conversation.